Let's speak further then about the suspension of those more than 30 members of the provincial legislature in KwaZulu-Natal following those chaotic scenes. Bring in the Speaker, Nontembeko Boyce, who's joining us on SABC News this evening. Good to have you, Speaker, on The Full View. Just expand for us on the reasons why these MPs have been suspended.
Good evening, everybody. We have, during the sitting in question, experienced a disruption that was targeted at ensuring that the sitting does not proceed with its business. It happened just before voting when we announced the voting procedure. As we announced the voting procedure and made the ruling that we are not going to do secret ballot, members rose, which is something that usually would happen. Even though we had made a ruling, we allowed them to question what they were questioning and we responded to them. But as we continued to say that we have now finished with responding to the clarities and everything, we're now moving into voting. Certain members, especially on the benches of the opposition, stood up and started to sing and being disruptive. That graduated to the level that was at the beginning starting to stand outside their benches. Remember that when we vote in the parliament or legislatures, you vote from your own seat. Even when we're calling them to take their seats so that they can vote, they were not doing it. So it was an intentional disruption. We call them in terms of the rules, we call them into order, and we told them that the conduct in terms of the rules is in contravention of Rule 61 because it is what is called grossly disorderly conduct that they were showing to us.
Right.
But they did not respond. We even ordered them to leave. They did not respond. So at a certain point, we adjourned temporarily. We did not adjourn. We suspended the House temporarily in terms of Rule 65(1). But even during that time, the members continued. We decided to continue and vote. But the scenes that you are now showing are when I had adjourned the House, when they were blocking the way, which is some of the reasons that the others are being suspended.
Right.
Because they blocked the way.
I just want to find out then, given, we're looking at the video from the day right now, it was absolute chaos at some point, wasn't it, in the legislature? How did you go about identifying the MPLs who have now been suspended and confirming their exact participation in what we saw happen?
I will make a simple example. What you are showing us is just immediately after I have adjourned. No, not this part. This one is when I'm already out. After I have adjourned, there are members. There's one member that is wearing black and white that was standing on either side of me. Before arriving at that member, there were members that were on my way. Others I asked to pass, others eventually allowed me to pass, although they were obstructing me earlier on. But there are other members who refused. Others were insulting at the time. But you also go back to the other visuals that you may not have or that you have, but you are not airing them. You would find that during the time that the singing started, there are members that sat in their seats and others were singing. Mm-hmm. During the actual voting time, when we were voting, when I was saying those in support of the motion stand, honorable members, go back to your seats. Remember, you can't vote outside your seats. There are others that did not stand in their seats, but others were standing near to their seats, but not necessarily on their seats. Then others were in their seats on the other side. So the rules are specific on where you must be during a voting, whether you are voting or not voting, but rules are specific. They were singing. I rolled and they continued to sing and they were standing there. Look at the lady with the black and white. Is a member that one that was grabbing me. They were doing that. Look at the leader of the EFF. The leader of the EFF have been standing behind his bench. He comes across as they were holding me. He comes across some sort of rescuing me. And then that's what he did. And we were able to see that and identify, but we also went back with the visuals of the legislature and look back, and we find that although he was not necessarily sitting on his bench, but he was standing
Right.
closer to his bench, not there. So that's how we were looking at, we did it. We would zoom into one member and follow the movements of that particular member at all given times. That's why we could see that there was a member who was sitting there and the other one sitting at the back in the benches of the MKP.
Do you believe that this step that you've taken to suspend these 32 members of the provincial legislature will help to restore order to the KwaZulu-Natal provincial legislature? But also, a second question while I have you, ma'am. The MKP has now raised question about the legitimacy of the vote itself on the motion of no confidence, a threat to perhaps take it all the way through a legal challenge. Has that been confirmed? Have they actually launched any sort of petition legally against what happened?
I wouldn't know. Maybe the courts will know. I don't know now. But let me first correct. I think I may make this mistake. I may have been making this mistake by not correcting. You keep saying 32. It's not 32 members that are suspended. There is one member of the EFF that is suspended. MK has got 37 members. And I think there are 2 members that are not suspended. So that makes it 36 members that are suspended. Do I hope that this suspension will work or will be positive? I hope so. In fact, I pray so. I pray that members of the legislature will learn that there are rules and that they have to behave in a manner that is exemplary as the lawmakers, particularly because they lead people and lead on behalf of people. They enact laws and make rules, and they have to follow them. And they also will get to know that there is responsibilities, and this will also ensure that every other person that is being represented by us, people like me and these other 36 members, will know that there is no one that is bigger than the law, including the fact that you are saying that you are imitating that the party may be taking the process to court. That then shows that because you are a speaker, you are no bigger than the law. Your decisions that you take with the borrowed powers in the position that you are borrowed by the people of KwaZulu-Natal are not yours. You have an arbiter who will look at them. So I believe that it's a decision that is aimed at educating people, but also motivating them never to hold back when they feel that there is injustice that has been given towards them. They have to know that there is always recourse in the Republic of South Africa. That is offered by the Constitution.
If you can give me a brief response, ma'am, because we're already over time. Is the legislature looking at all into the claims that the MKP made that some members of the legislature were threatened to dissuade them from voting in support of the party's motion, including some from its own ranks, and in fact suggestions that people from other parties who wanted to vote differently were subjected to the same intimidation?
The claim that was made was that there are members that were threatened, and those members were mentioned by names. They were within the MKP ranks, and those people debated, and the same people were pleading with people to vote with them. I am not saying those people were not threatened, but I'm saying that those people had demonstrated that they can't be made to fear. They were told whatever they were told, and someone was trying to intimidate them. They were not intimidated. They still stood in the podium and said that the premier must be removed. And I am inspired by those people, those members who received anonymous SMSs and said, we are not going to look at anonymous SMSs. We're going to vote we're going to debate the way we want. We're still calling for the premier to be removed. I am like them. I'm inspired by them.
Good to talk to you, Nontembeko Boyce, the Speaker of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Legislature. Thank you for your time on the SABC